Make the sky green. That was my client's feedback. Sometimes designers receive very strange requests and feedbacks, and how you should handle them. Stay with me, and I assure you, you'll improve your feedback management skills. My name is Zbigniew Gietches and I'm a designer. In this video, I'll share with you 10 tips on how to manage client feedback, how to use different negotiation techniques, and keep the sky blue. Before we start, do not forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell sign. It's very important for me. So let's start the story. Once, about 14 years ago, the client asked me to change the sky color to green. Without the context, that sounds a bit crazy. Even knowing it, most of you will find it strange. And this was a huge corporate website. The team worked for 4 months, and it was finalization of this project when this request popped up. To keep the story short, after hours of negotiations, we defined the reason behind this request. The sky is blue, the client's color is green, competitor's color is blue, and the client's manager wanted to avoid the similarity with the competitors. So rather telling us his fears, he tried to fix the issue himself by giving us the solution, the green sky. Many clients believe that proper feedback is prescriptive. They tell a designer how to fix something. The sad part that designers are put in a position of carrying out clients' design decisions. All those funny feedbacks come from situations where clients try to fix the problem without actually naming the reason. In my previous video, I've talked about the importance of design process and how to present your work to the client. And the truth is that no matter how good your pitch was and your work was, you'll get a feedback. And probably some of the remarks will be negative, and some might be prescriptive. Your goal is to calm people down, establish rapport, gain trust, make people, your client, voice their needs and pursue them with your empathy to find the solution, keep the sky blue. 10 steps on how to avoid clients' comps and getting to reasoning. First one, it's your mindset, discovery mindset. Feedback is not an act of battle. It's a process of discovery. The goal is to uncover as much information as possible. Don't take negative feedback as a personal attack. You should always remember that you and your counterpart, client, are working toward the same goal with the best of intentions. Negative feedback is an essential part of the process and part of the client's job. And it's human nature to react, when we get the negative feedback. The key is distancing your emotional self and taking the remark as you would listen to a doctor's advice that you eat less sugar and salt. The second thing is create feedback guidelines for your clients. No one is born with the knowledge on how to give useful design feedback. You need to teach your client how to do that. Both of you are striving for the same goal, And that should be a clear mental vector that navigates the feedback process. Remind them again the best would be to remind that in the written guidelines that you are hired to find a solution. So the client should name the problem, not find the solution for it. He pays your money for you to do your work properly. So create a list of things they should focus on and what should be ignored. Example, when I show wireframes to the client, I'm asking them to focus on overall goals, not colors or specific labels or, lorem ipsum body copy and so on. You should stay away from questions, do you like it? You aren't hired to make something they like. You should be hired to solve their business problem. Ask your clients to comment specifically on the things you want them to address. They are business experts. You are a design expert. The third thing that you should do is accusation audit. The concept of accusation audit, it's essentially a negotiation tactic where you list the negative things the person you are negotiating with can claim about you or your work, and use labels to diffuse the power of those accusations. And that's exactly what Eminem did to defeat Papa Doc in the final 8-mile rap battle. The reason why a counterpart is not going to make an agreement with you are often more important than why they are going to make an agreement. So focus first on removing the barriers to an agreement. Denying bias or negative influence gives them credence. The magic is that when those accusations are voiced over, your client starts to listen to your reasoning and becomes more open to the discussion. Sometimes he even tries to find the reasoning why those accusations are not right. So, what could be the accusation audit to your design? Is it the strategy, or maybe it's the size of your header? So should that? We understand that the header is bold. It might look too big, too vibrant, and it might freak you out. Then pause. After you label a barrier, let it sink in. Don't worry. The other party will feel the silence. You might receive an emphatic note from your clients, or they might even deny your statement. Then you can continue reasoning the solution and encouraging the client to share their thoughts with you. Add open-end question. What else is there you feel is important to add to this? By labeling the fears and asking for input, you will be able to elicit a piece of information how to make the agreement on the header, color, flow, any other element. The faster you name the fear, the faster you can generate feelings of safety, well-being, and trust. Fourth thing you should always remember during feedback session, that you need to listen. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. For those who view negotiation as a battle of arguments, then they are not talking, they are thinking about their arguments. And when they are talking, they are making their arguments. Often those on both sides of the table are doing the same thing. So you have a state of schizophrenia. Everyone just listening to the voices in their head. The best way to receive feedback is to listen and actually hear what's being said. The fifth, one of the most important things is to control your emotions and voice and body language. Use your voice and facial expression as a tool. Put a smile on your face. When people are in positive frame of mind, they think faster and are more likely to work together and solve problems instead of battling and resisting. Positivity builds mental agility for both of you and your counterpart. Psychology professor Albert Mehrabian created the 7-38-55 rule. That is, only 7% of the message is based on the words, while 38% comes from the tone of voice and 55% from the speaker's body language and face. Now, the sixth tip is to slow it down. When you slow the process down, you also calm it down. Moving too quickly is one of the mistakes that all negotiators, designers, and those that receive feedbacks are likely to make. If we are too in a rush, people can feel like they are not being heard. You risk losing the relationship and trust that you have built up. The seventh is to be a mirror. What it means. Mirroring, also called isopraxism, is essentially imitation. It can be done with speech patterns, body language, vocabulary, tempo, and tone of voice. This is phenomenon and now a technique that follows a very basic but profound biological principle. We fear what's different and are drawn to what's similar. It's almost laughable simple. Chris Voss, the same FBI negotiator, writes, "For the FBI, a mirror is when you repeat the last 3 words or the critical 3 words of what someone has just said." Of the entire FBI hostage negotiation skill set, mirroring is the closest one gets to Jedi mind trick. And psychologist Richard Weissman created a study using waiters to identify what was the more effective method of creating a connection with the stranger, mirroring or positive reinforcement. One group of waiters using positive reinforcement lavished praise and encouragement on patron, using words such as great, no problem, and sure in response to each order. And the other group of waiters mirrored the customer simply by repeating their orders back to them. The results were stunning. The average tip of the waiters who mirrored was 70% more than of those who used positive reinforcement. The 8th tip is to be emphatic. You can always deliver solution, but you can always deliver empathy. By putting yourself in the shoe of a customer, you also get the context that helps you do your job. And the beauty of empathy is that it doesn't demand you to agree with other person's ideas. You don't need to feel their pain, you can just label it. Labeling is a way of validating someone's emotion by acknowledging it. Give someone's emotion a name, and you identify with how that person feels. It's like a shortcut to intimacy. Labels can be phrased as statements or questions. The only difference is where you end the sentence with a downward or upward inflection. But no matter how they end, labels are almost always begin with roughly the same words. It seems like, it sounds like, and it looks like. So I can give you example. It seems like this project is very important to you. Or another example, it sounds like you have your own view on this issue. So it's like a question. Now, the ninth tip is you should use questions a lot. Ask calibrated questions. Asking questions helps eliminate the appearance of defensiveness and keep us from immediately jumping in to justify our actions. If you don't ask the right questions, you don't get the right answers. The easiest way to persuade your clients is to guide them to your idea with calibrated questions. Your questions should start with what, how, and rarely, sometimes, why. Nothing else. Why is perceived as accusation in any language. So, it can backfire. The only time that you can use why successfully is when the defensiveness that is created supports the change you are trying to get them to see. Example, why would you ever change from the way you've always done things and try my approach? Having just 2 words to start with might not seem like a lot of ammunition, but trust me, you can use what and how to calibrate nearly any questions. Example, if you want to ask, this looks like something you would like, can become, how does this look to you? Or what about this works for you? You can even ask, what about this doesn't work for you? And you will probably trigger quite a bit of useful information from your counterpart. The last tip would be, getting to that's right, to yes. I'm sure that sometimes you got a yes from your client that later turned out to be no. And this is not something special. This is not an uncommon experience. This happens because there are actually 3 kinds of yes: commitment, confirmation, and counterfeit. According to Chris Voss, one of the greatest tools for avoiding this trap is the rule of 3. The rule of 3 is simply getting the other guy to agree to the same thing 3 times in the same conversation. And this method uncovers problems before they happen. So the problem with that is that how to avoid sounding like a broken record to get those 3 yes. The first time they agreed to something or give you a commitment, that's number 1. For the second, you might summarize what they say, so they answer, that's right. And number 3 could be, calibrated question, how or what question about, implementation of that task or project or idea. You might ask to explain what will constitute success, something like, what do we do if we get off the track? Or, you can use different way of, or you might ask 3 times same calibrated question phrased in 3 different ways, like, what's the biggest challenge you faced? 1. What are we up against here? 2. And what do you see as being the most difficult thing to get around? So this is 10 tips. That's it, folks. I assure you, try this. Remember, it's your job to keep the sky blue. Subscribe to my channel and see you soon.